The fall in aisle 14 started like any other morning for Jordan Mills. He clocked in at 6:57 a.m., just 3 minutes before his shift began, and tossed on his red warehouse vest, with his name barely visible on the worn-out tag. The huge distribution center buzzed with noise, forklifts beeping, conveyor belts humming, boxes slamming. Jordan had grown used to the rhythm. It was mindless, tough work, but it was honest. He had a sick mother at home and rent due in 5 days. Quitting was never an option. He was in aisle 14, restocking oversized kitchen appliances when a sound broke through the industrial clamor. A hard thud, followed by a loud groan. Jordan turned quickly. Near the end of the aisle, an older man had slipped on a patch of spilled oil. His shopping cart had tipped and the man was on the floor, clutching his leg, clearly in pain. Jordan didn't think twice. He dropped the box he was holding and ran over. "Sir, don't move, I saw you fall," Jordan said, kneeling next to him. The man winced, trying to sit up. "I think my knee's messed up," he muttered. "Heard a pop." Jordan pulled out his radio. "Medical to aisle 14, he called. "We've got an injured customer." As he waited for help, Jordan grabbed a pallet from nearby and slid it gently under the man to support his leg. He removed his own vest and balled it up to cushion the man's head. "Thank you," the man whispered. His face was pale, but his eyes were calm. Most people would have kept walking. "Not on my watch," Jordan said quietly. When the on-site medic arrived, Jordan helped them lift the man onto a stretcher. A small crowd had gathered, but no one seemed to notice who the man was. But someone did notice something else. From behind the shelves, Jordan's supervisor, Garrett, stepped into view. His face was red. Not from concern, but fury. "Mills," he barked. "What do you think you're doing?" "Helping a man who fell," Jordan replied, confused. "You left your station. You abandoned your post in the middle of restock, and now there's a mess in aisle 12 that no one's touched." Jordan stared stunned. He could barely move, Jordan said. "You expect me to just ignore that? You don't get paid to play hero," Garrett snapped. "Follow me. Now." The walk to the manager's office felt longer than usual. Jordan's chest was tight. His hands were still shaking from adrenaline, but the heat in his face came from something else. Embarrassment, maybe disbelief. Inside, Garrett didn't yell. He just filled out a form and placed it in front of Jordan. "Termination." "Effective immediately," Garrett said coldly. "You violated store protocol." Jordan blinked. "Are you serious? I did the right thing." Garrett didn't even look up. "Your locker will be cleared. Security will escort you out." The door slammed shut behind him. Jordan stood outside the warehouse, jobless, humiliated, and still unsure how doing something kind could have gone so wrong. He had just tried to help, and now he had nothing. He sat on the curb, staring at his worn work boots. They were stained from months of lifting, loading, dragging, bending, all for a company that replaced him in less than 15 minutes. But what Jordan didn't know, what no one knew yet, was that the man he helped was not just some stranger with a bad knee. It was Keanu Reeves. And Jordan's act of kindness had just set off a chain of events that would flip his entire world upside down. Whispers, a ride, and the reveal. Jordan didn't sleep that night. He tossed and turned on the thin mattress in the corner of his small apartment. His mother, lying in the next room, didn't ask what had happened. She could see it in his eyes when he brought her dinner and said nothing. The silence between them felt heavy, like unspoken disappointment. He stared at the ceiling for hours, mind racing. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Garrett's face, the coldness, the dismissal, the words, "You don't get paid to play hero." By morning, the storm outside matched the one in his heart. Rain poured down in sheets, soaking the city in gray. At 8:32 a.m., Jordan's phone buzzed. He expected it to be a bill collector, but instead it was a number he didn't recognize. He hesitated, then answered. "Hello? Is this Jordan Mills?" Yeah. "Who's this?" "This is Claire from St. Joseph's Medical Center. You helped a man who was injured yesterday, At the store, he asked us to reach out to you. Jordan sat up, confused. Okay. Is he all right? He's stable. Mild dislocation, but he insisted on seeing you. He left you a note. Claire paused. He also arranged a car to pick you up. It'll be outside in 20 minutes. Jordan blinked. Wait. He arranged a car? Claire chuckled. Yes. And trust me, this isn't a regular patient. The call ended. Jordan stood by the window watching as a sleek black SUV pulled up to the curb exactly 20 minutes later. His mother, weak but curious, peeked from her room. Everything okay? Jordan nodded slowly. I think something weird is happening. He stepped into the SUV and was met by a man in a clean black suit. Mr. Mills, the driver said, I've been instructed to bring you to the hospital. We'll make a short stop first. Stop where? Jordan asked. You'll see. The ride was smooth, silent. Jordan stared out the window as they pulled off the main road and into a private driveway behind a gated building that looked nothing like a hospital. The moment he stepped out, the driver pointed to a glass elevator at the far end of a marble lobby. Floor 7, room 714. Still unsure, Jordan stepped in and rode the elevator up. When the doors opened, he found himself in a quiet private suite. Warm lighting, leather chairs, flower vases. Nothing about it felt like a hospital. Then, a soft voice came from the couch. You're Jordan, right? Jordan turned and froze. Sitting there with his leg wrapped and resting on a small ottoman was Keanu Reeves. The Keanu Reeves. Jordan's mouth went dry. No way, Keanu smiled. Yes, way. Jordan blinked. I helped you. You were the guy who fell. Keanu nodded. I was trying to get some tools, needed a few things for my motorcycle shop. I slipped in the aisle before anyone noticed. But you did. You were the only one. Jordan couldn't believe what he was hearing. I got fired, he said quietly. For helping you. Keanu looked down for a moment, then back up, eyes serious. I know. And that's why I brought you here. Jordan waited. Keanu leaned forward. I wanted to thank you, not just with words. I did some checking. You're a hard worker, honest, humble. Your mother's sick, and you've been holding everything together. Jordan's face turned red. How do you know that? You left your emergency contact on the hospital form when you called the medic. That was your mother. And, well, I have friends who can find things out. Jordan didn't know what to say. Keanu smiled again. I have a small team. We run motorcycle shops, some charities, and a community tech center. We need someone like you. Someone with heart. Would you be willing to come see it? Jordan stared at him. Are you offering me a job? No, Keanu said gently. I'm offering you a chance to change your life. The black SUV drove again, this time deeper into the heart of the city. They pulled up outside a massive old warehouse that had been transformed into something new. Jordan stepped in and saw the space. Half of it was a custom motorcycle garage, the other half a youth workshop filled with computers, art supplies, tools, and kids learning everything from coding to bike building. Keanu led him through the space. This is where I come when Hollywood gets too loud, he said. These kids come from hard places like you, like me. Jordan looked around. Some of the kids smiled at him. A few waved. We teach. We build. We give second chances, Keanu continued. I'd like you to help run this place with me. Jordan swallowed hard. But I'm just a warehouse guy. Keanu laughed softly. That's what they saw. But I saw something different. When I was on that floor in pain, you didn't see a stranger. You saw someone who needed help. That's what matters here. Jordan looked down at his hands. They were rough, bruised from years of lifting boxes. But maybe those same hands could build something better now. I'll do it. He whispered. Keanu grinned. Good. We start tomorrow. That night, Jordan sat on the roof of his apartment staring at the stars. He had no job yesterday. Today, he had a new purpose. And the man he helped, just a stranger on the floor, turned out to be one of the most humble souls he'd ever met. He looked up and whispered a quiet, "Thank you," to the sky. Life, it seemed, wasn't done surprising him yet. The broken bike and the hidden past. The next morning, Jordan showed up early. He stood in front of the old warehouse building Keanu had shown him the day before, still not sure this wasn't a dream. The air was cool and smelled faintly of engine, oil, and fresh coffee. The mural on the outer wall of the building had bright colors and painted words like hope, rescue, and build again. It didn't feel like a job. It felt like something more. Inside, the place was already alive. Kids were gathered around large wooden tables. Some were coding on laptops. Others were drawing designs for motorcycle parts. A few teens were elbow-deep in grease learning how to repair an old engine. A man with silver hair and thick glasses waved Jordan over. "You must be Jordan," he said. "I'm Tommy. Been here since Keanu started this place. Let's get you settled." Jordan followed him into a small office. The space wasn't fancy. There were tools, boxes of spare parts, and photos of kids laughing with bikes behind them. "You're not here to be anyone's boss," Tommy said. "You're here to be their guide. Teach what you know, learn what you don't. The rest follows." Jordan nodded. "I've never run anything like this." Tommy smiled. "You don't run this place with rules. You run it with heart." Jordan was nervous at first, but he quickly found his rhythm. He spent his mornings helping teens organize the workshop. He showed them how to label inventory, move heavy tools safely, and organize supplies, stuff that came naturally from his warehouse. Days. He treated them with patience, always calm, always listening. Slowly, they started opening up to him. By the end of the week, Jordan had helped a shy girl named Emma build her first mini bike and taught a boy named Zane how to align engine parts without breaking them. But one afternoon, something unexpected happened. It was raining hard outside. Thunder rolled through the city and the power flickered once. Jordan was helping Tommy clean out a storage room in the back when he noticed something covered with a dusty old tarp. "What's this?" he asked. Tommy's face darkened slightly. "That," he said quietly, "that's Keanu's first bike. The one he rode across the country back when he had nothing. Before the fame, before the money, before all of it." Jordan gently lifted the tarp. Underneath was a beaten, rusted motorcycle. It was scratched and dented, missing a few pieces. But something about it felt powerful, like it had a story. "Why is it back here?" "He never talks about it," Tommy replied. "He said he broke down one night and walked 20 miles just to find someone to help. It was the night that changed everything for him." Jordan looked closer. One side of the gas tank had something carved into the metal. Faint, almost, erased by time. "Help when no one's watching." He read it out loud. Tommy nodded. He carved that himself. Never explained it, just said it reminded him who he was. Jordan felt something stir in his chest. He remembered the day in the warehouse. How he didn't think, didn't wait, just helped the man who fell. And now here he was. He looked at the broken bike. "I want to fix this," Jordan said softly. "You sure?" Tommy asked. "Yeah. It's part of his story. Maybe fixing it will help him remember something good." Tommy smiled. "Then we'll do it together." The next few days were filled with secret late nights. After the others left, Jordan stayed behind. He took photos of the old parts, cleaned the rust, polished the metal with quiet care. Every screw, every wire, every bolt. He treated it like it mattered. He wasn't just fixing a bike, he was honoring a moment. One evening, he was so deep in focus that he didn't hear the footsteps behind him. "You found her," a voice said. Jordan turned. Keanu stood at the doorway, leaning on his crutch, watching him. "I didn't mean to." Jordan started. Keanu shook his head. "It's okay. I was wondering when someone would try." He limped over, sat beside him on a bench. No, I broke down in the middle of nowhere once," Keanu said. "Had no phone, no money, no idea what I was doing. I sat on the side of the road thinking maybe that was it. Maybe I'd just sleep there and give up." Jordan listened in silence. Then this old man stopped. He didn't say much, just handed me a wrench, gave me water, and helped me fix the bike. He didn't ask who I was, he didn't care, he just helped. Keanu looked at the bike. That's why I carved that phrase. Help when no one's watching. It saved me. Jordan's throat tightened. You helped me, Jordan whispered. Now I want to give back. Keanu placed a hand on his shoulder. You already did. The day you chose kindness over a paycheck. The day you lost your job for doing the right thing. Jordan looked down at the bike. Then let's finish this. Keanu smiled. Together. On Friday evening, under the warm glow of hanging lights, the warehouse hosted its first open night of the season. Families came, kids showed their projects, and volunteers served snacks. There was laughter, music, and even a small raffle. But the real moment came when Jordan and Keanu wheeled the restored bike into the center of the room. It gleamed like new. The kids clapped. Tommy whistled. Even some of the parents looked amazed. Keanu stepped forward and touched the bike. This was my beginning, he said. And today, this is Jordan's beginning. Jordan stood beside him, unsure how to react. People were looking at him, cheering for him. No one had ever done that before. Not when he was a warehouse worker. Not when he came home tired, unnoticed. But now, things were different. And deep down, he knew this was just the start. When kindness echoes louder, the Monday after the bike reveal was different. Jordan felt it as soon as he walked into the workshop. There was more energy in the air. Kids who used to avoid him now waved when he passed. The shy girl Emma gave him a small drawing of the bike, with both of them smiling next to it. He pinned it above his workbench. Keanu had left early that morning, for a film shoot, but before he left he said something that stayed with Jordan all day. Kindness doesn't always echo right away. Sometimes it takes time, but when it returns, it's louder than you ever imagined. Jordan didn't fully understand what he meant, at least, not yet. But that afternoon, it all started to make sense. It began with a knock on the workshop's glass door. A woman stood outside, holding a clipboard. She was dressed in a formal black coat, glasses low on her nose. Behind her, two men held camera equipment. Tommy walked out first, frowning a little. Can I help you? He asked. The woman nodded. We're with Everyday Heroes, a documentary team that covers stories of hidden kindness around the country. We received a tip about what happened here last week. Something about a man fired for helping an injured customer, who turned out to be Keanu Reeves. Jordan, overhearing from the corner of the shop, froze. He stepped out, wiping grease from his hands. That was me, he said quietly. The woman looked at him with a soft smile. We'd love to tell your story, Jordan. We think the world needs to hear it. Jordan hesitated. He wasn't used to attention. He was used to lifting boxes quietly, staying in the background. This felt too big, too strange. I don't know, he said. I'm just a guy who did the right thing. And that, she replied gently, is exactly why people need to hear from you. They set up the next morning. The crew interviewed him, Tommy, the kids, and even Jordan's mother from home. She sat on her couch wrapped in a blanket and spoke about her son with tears in her eyes. He never complains, she said. He just works hard, and he's always thinking about others. Jordan couldn't watch that part without wiping his eyes. Then came a surprise even he didn't expect. As they filmed the final scenes of the restored bike, Keanu showed up unannounced. No bodyguards, no cameras, just him and a paper bag full of donuts. He walked up to the crew. Mind if I say a few words? What Keanu said would later go viral. He stood in front of the camera, one hand on the bike. Jordan Mills reminded me what real character looks like, he said. I've been in movies where I play heroes, but in real life, heroes don't wear costumes. They wear warehouse boots. They give up their jobs to help strangers. They stay kind even when it costs them. He looked directly into the lens. The world needs more Jordans. Jordan watched it from the back of the room, stunned. He had no words, just goosebumps and a heart that felt too full to hold in his chest. The episode aired 3 days later. Within hours, everything changed. Jordan's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. People from around the world sent messages, some from small towns, some from cities he'd never heard of. Strangers thanked him. Parents told their kids about him. Veterans, teachers, janitors, single mothers. They all shared how his story gave them hope. One message stood out. It was from a man who worked at the same warehouse Jordan had been fired from. He wrote, "I saw what happened to you. It wasn't fair." After the video went viral, a few of us spoke up to management. We told them that if they could fire a man for kindness, we'd walk too. Guess what? Garrett got fired today. And the new supervisor? She's starting a kindness program. You started that. Jordan stared at the message for a long time. He thought about Garrett, about how quickly he had been thrown away. And now, because of one act, things had shifted. Then came a second email. This one was from a large retail chain. They offered Jordan a national role, head of staff values, and training, high salary, full medical coverage for his mom, travel paid. Jordan politely declined, not because he wasn't grateful, but because this workshop, these kids, this purpose, was home now. He replied, "Thank you, but I've already found the job I was made for." One evening, while closing up the workshop, Jordan found Keanu sitting alone by the bike. "You ever think we'll be the same after this?" Jordan asked. Keanu looked up. "I hope not," he said. "Some changes are worth keeping." They sat in silence for a while, both watching the hanging lights sway above the workshop. The world had changed around them. Not with noise, but with one quiet act of kindness. And somehow, that had been enough. The chain reaction weeks passed, but the world didn't move on from Jordan's story. What started as a quiet moment in aisle 14 had become a spark, a small flame that caught fire in the hearts of thousands. Not because of fame, not because of drama, but because kindness, when pure, has a way of waking people up. One morning, Jordan arrived early at the workshop. The sky was still a soft blue, the city just waking up. He unlocked the door, turned on the lights, and smiled as the familiar smell of oil, wood, and fresh paint filled the air. On the workbench was a letter. It was handwritten, sealed with a red wax stamp. He opened it slowly. "Dear Mr. Jordan Mills, we are writing from the United Nations Youth Development Initiative. We believe your story has reminded people what real leadership looks like. We are organizing a global summit in Switzerland for youth empowerment and kindness-based leadership. We would be honored if you would attend as a guest speaker. With hope." Dr. Lena Moreno. Jordan set the letter down, breath caught in his throat. Him, a guest speaker? At the United Nations? He walked into the main workshop and sat on a stool, staring at the letter. He could almost hear Garrett's voice in his head. "You don't get paid to play hero?" But now the world was saying something different. "You do get remembered for being one." Later that week, Jordan stood in front of the class of teens holding the same letter. He didn't hide it from them. "I got invited to speak at a summit," he said, "about kindness, about what happened here." Emma raised her hand. "Are you going to go?" Jordan paused. "I'm scared." The kids looked surprised. "But you're like, strong," said Zane. Jordan smiled. "Strong doesn't mean you're never afraid. It means you go anyway." He folded the letter and tucked it into his jacket pocket. "So yeah, I'm going." Switzerland was cold and beautiful. Jordan had never been outside the country before. Everything felt unreal. The plane, the hotel, the massive glass building where the summit was held. He sat backstage waiting as a woman fixed a mic to his shirt and gave him water. He could hear the audience, hundreds of people, world leaders, students, reporters, educators, activists. He felt like a warehouse worker again, just a guy in boots. But then he heard Keanu's voice in his head. "You don't run this place with rules. You run it with heart." Jordan stepped onto the stage. The lights were hot. The room went silent. He took a breath and began. "I'm not a speaker," he said, voice shaking. "I never went to a fancy school. I used to lift boxes and mop floors and get yelled at for clocking in late. But one day, I helped a man who had fallen. I didn't know who he was. I just saw someone in pain." The crowd listened, still and focused. "I got fired for that," Jordan said. "But what happened next changed my life, because kindness doesn't need permission. It doesn't need a reward. It just needs a moment." He looked out at the faces in front of him. I stand here because someone believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. I stand here because kids back home remind me every day that heart matters more than titles. And if my story means anything, it means this. No act of kindness is ever wasted, even when no one's watching. There was a pause. Then the entire hall stood to its feet. The applause rolled through the room like thunder. Jordan stood still, eyes full, heart pounding. He had told the truth, and it had reached them. When he returned home, the workshop was decorated with balloons and signs made by the kids. Welcome back, Jordan. You made us proud. Our hero Keanu was there too, leaning against the wall with a quiet grin. Saw the speech, he said. I thought you were on set, Jordan said. I was, Keanu replied, but some things are more important. They hugged. Not a celebrity hug. Not a quick photo moment. A real hug. Two men who understood what it meant to be broken once and whole now. In the weeks that followed, something incredible happened. Other workshops around the country started calling. People wanted to build spaces like theirs. A woman from Detroit said, "We want a kindness garage for our kids." A teacher in Texas said, "Your story made my whole class cry. We're collecting donations now." A retired engineer in South Africa said, "I'll build the first center here if you help guide me." Keanu and Jordan held a meeting with Tommy and the team. They started drawing up plans, not for profit, not for press, but for people, because the world was ready. And it all started with one simple act. One evening, Jordan found himself alone in the garage. Most of the kids had gone. The lights were soft. The bike sat in the corner, polished and still. He walked over to it, fingers running across the metal tank. "Help when no one's watching," he whispered the words aloud. Then, on impulse, he grabbed a small carving tool from the bench. On the other side of the tank, just under the seat, he carved 4 more words. Kindness started it all, then he smiled, because he knew. This wasn't the end. It was the beginning. Ending line. Full circle. The sun was setting behind the warehouse, casting a soft golden glow over the quiet street. Inside, the once forgotten space now pulsed with life. Walls covered in murals painted by the kids, tools neatly lined up, laughter echoing from every corner. But today wasn't just another day. Today marked exactly 1 year since Jordan Mills had been fired for helping a man he didn't know was Keanu Reeves. The memory of that moment still lived clearly in his mind. Aisle 14. The fall. The radio call. And then, the way his life unraveled only to be rebuilt, stronger than ever. Jordan stood at the center of the shop, watching as a new crowd filed in. Teachers, local leaders, donors, even a few celebrities who believed in the mission. There were kids from 5 different cities who had traveled to see the original workshop where it all began. And at the very back, leaning casually by the garage door, was Keanu. Always quiet, always watching, Tommy tapped a spoon against a coffee mug, calling for attention. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, "this place was born from a moment of simple kindness. One man helping another, not for reward, not for recognition, just because it was the right thing to do." He turned to Jordan. "We didn't just gain a new team member that day, we found a leader." People clapped, some with tears in their eyes. Jordan stepped forward, holding a folder. He had worked on something for weeks, now it was time. "We've been planning something," he said, "something big. Not just here, but everywhere." He opened the folder. Inside were blueprints, designs, photos, maps. "We're officially launching the Kindness Engine project," Jordan said. "Our goal is to build 20 workshops across the country over the next 3 years. Spaces just like this one, for kids, for dreamers, for the ones no one notices." The room erupted into, "Cheers and Keanu?" He just smiled quietly. "None of this would exist," Jordan said, "if someone hadn't believed in me when I had nothing. I want to give that belief to someone else now." He turned to a boy standing by the door. "Come on up, Malik." Malik, 15 years old, came from a rough neighborhood nearby. He had once been caught stealing tools. Instead of pressing charges, Jordan had offered him a spot at the workshop. Since then, Malik had built 2 bikes from scratch, and now he stood shaking beside Jordan, unsure of what was happening. "We're giving you a full scholarship," Jordan said, "to the technical school of your choice, and when you're ready, you'll come back here and lead." Malik froze. His voice cracked. "Why me?" Jordan knelt beside him and answered with the same words that started it all. "Because you helped." When no one was watching, the entire room stood in applause. Later that evening, when the event quieted and the crowd drifted away, Jordan and Keanu stood outside under the stars. They watched as the kids loaded up into vans, holding little toolboxes and printed blueprints, ready to return home and build something of their own. Keanu spoke first. "You built something here, Jordan. Something real." Jordan shook his head slowly. "We built it. You gave me a second chance." Keanu looked thoughtful. "You gave me one too," he said. "I needed to believe there were still people who'd stop and care. No cameras, no stage, just heart." They stood quietly for a moment. Then Keanu nodded toward the old bike in the window, the one they had restored together. "So what now?" he asked. Jordan smiled. "We keep going. One kid, one city, one story at a time." The next morning, Jordan returned to the same store where he had once been fired. Not to complain, not to seek revenge, but to speak. He had been invited to give a talk to the new employees as part of a kindness initiative launched after Garrett's removal. He stood in the break room where he had once packed his things in silence, and now he spoke clearly. "Don't ever think doing the right thing is wasted," he said. "You never know who you're helping or who's watching." The new supervisor thanked him with tears in her eyes. They offered him a plaque. He refused. Instead, he placed a small sticker on the break room wall. It had just 4 words. "Help when no one's watching." Months passed. The first 5 kindness engines opened in small towns where factories had closed and hope had dried up. But slowly, change came. A girl in Ohio built prosthetic limbs for dogs. A boy in Kansas helped fix his school's heating system using what he learned at the workshop. An entire group in Georgia launched a community kitchen for the homeless. Powered by bike-built generators, news stories came and went. Some praised Jordan. Some called it a miracle. But for Jordan, none of it felt like fame. It felt like healing. It felt like peace. One night, he walked back into the original workshop alone. He turned off the lights. The space was silent. He touched the bike one more time, brushing dust from the words he had carved. Kindness started it all. He whispered a quiet, "Thank you," to Keanu, to Tommy, to the kids, to his mom, to the man he used to be. Then he locked the door and walked out into the night. Not a hero, not a celebrity, just a man who chose to help, and in doing so, changed the world.